big warm introduction to our friend Cassandra Skadanov. She is the head of affordable lending with Freddie Mac, and today she is going to teach you guys about the ways and methods to learn about affordable lending and how to get there quickly. So without further ado, guys, I'd like to introduce Cassandra Skadanov up on stage. Thank you so much, Cassandra. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. So you know what, again, I want to let you guys know I am an affordable lending manager with Freddie Mac. You know, we're kind of hard to locate, but I'll tell you what, you've been seeing a little bit more of us throughout the country. We have like a team of about 15 people or so, and we spend our time traveling all throughout the nation, and we are talking to realtors, lenders, political figures, nonprofits, anybody that will listen to us about affordable lending. And the reason why we're doing that is because we know that it is a challenge today. Our realtors, our lending partners, it is a constant fight to try to get our low to moderate income families into homes. So with that said, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to come out and partner with CMG. CMG is a wonderful lending partner with Freddie Mac. We really respect the work that they're doing. They're going to tell you guys a lot about some programs that they have that are innovative and are really going to reach deep into that low to moderate income market and help them get into their first homes. So people ask, you know, what is Freddie Mac? And I get that question a lot, maybe in the consumer district, because they don't get a lot of information from us a lot of times. But, you know, the best way I can explain Freddie Mac is say, listen, when you go and buy a house and your loan officer closes on the loan and they give you the keys, then Freddie Mac then gives the money back to the lender. That is kind of like the kindergarten version of the secondary market. But, you know, here's some things that people don't know about Freddie Mac. You know, we've been around since 1970. But one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure we are not isolating what we call the working middle. You know who that is? It's our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, our EMTs, the people who are building the roads. It's the people who keep our economy and our country running, right? Our working middle is me and you, right? Right. So here's the thing. If we aren't able to go out and buy a home in the neighborhoods that we work in, is that fair access to credit? No, it's not. So it means we got to do a little bit of more work, right? Why do we care about All for Home? Because you know what? It has to be all of us working for a common vision. All for opportunity, all for success, all for innovation. Why? Because it's going to take more than just our wonderful realtors to be out in the marketplace talking to people saying, hello, do you want to buy a home? It's going to take more than just you all doing it. It's going to take more than our loan officers. It's going to take more than Freddie Mac. It's going to take more than our nonprofits. It's going to take more than our builders. It's going to take all of us working together to be able to take our low to moderate income families, especially today, and reach down to give them a hand up. So with that said, I want you guys to take a look at these circles. You know, we talked about, you know, our builders, our developers, our political figures, our nonprofits. These are all the different people that you all need to be able to interact with. So realtors, are you working with a housing nonprofit in your area? Do you know about the Downpayment Assistance programs? I see a young lady, she's like, yes, I am doing all of that. If you're not doing that, please come talk to her after the event. And again, you guys are taking some steps because you're here with CMG, and they have a phenomenal program. I can't not wait for you all to hear about it. I've heard about it a couple of times now, and I keep going back to my children saying, you know what, I need you guys to get with the CMG program. Because again, being able to start the incubation process for our home buyers, especially our millennial home buyers, we need to start that incubation process a bit earlier. And you guys are going to hear how early are you going to be able to get involved and start talking to people about home ownership. Because the days of, I think I want to buy a house and I'm going to go walk in and qualify. That's not exactly what's happening right now, right? No, it's not. And you know what? I have facts to show you that it's not, because every year for the last 4 years, the first-time home buyer market has been shrinking. So what that means is it's becoming more difficult. So what that means is we have to better prepare our first-time home buyers, our minority home buyers, our low to moderate income buyers. We have to prepare them much earlier to become homeowners with education, not just, motivation. We have to give them education on how they can be better equipped to be mortgage ready. So what does that mean? It means sharing insights, education, mortgage products, and business solutions. And that's pretty much what we're here to talk about today. But before we get started, I want to talk about one thing. There is an elephant in the room: affordable lending. So I want to redefine, what does the affordable market mean? What does that mean? Listen, affordable business, we talked about this. We talk about people who are making 100% of your area median income, okay? And then a step below that is 80% of the area median income. Now we start talking about people who are like teachers. We start talking about people who are at 50% of the area median income. Now we're talking about like our emergency medical technicians, right? So this is our working middle. These are the people who are in our communities. There are kids, there are brothers, our sisters. It may even be us in this room. So when we say that we don't want to do that type of business, we're saying that we don't want to help the people who help us. Is that the world we want to live in? No. So we've got to make sure that we take that stigma off of that and we are embracing our affordable lending business. So let's talk about the market. I'm thinking that number one, it's more expensive for me to own a home, right? We're also working on a set of myths. How much do you think that most people believe they need to put down on a house today? 20%. Now, you know what? I have a bone to pick with our industry for that, because I feel like all of us need to band together to kill that myth. Because you know what? I can go on Facebook right now and I can find out what my neighbor ate for breakfast yesterday, but I can't go on Facebook and figure out how much I need to put down on a house. Okay? That doesn't work for me. So I think that, you know what, we have to do a better job with the industry of being sure that people understand that, you know what, there are low down payment assistance options. So what we also see is that our first time homebuyer inventory is a lot lower than it used to be. Builders aren't building in that affordable realm anymore. So what that means is that we have to start looking with, how do we do more with what we've got? If people can qualify, but they can't qualify for enough, then how do we work this out? And we still need to be able to make sure we can get someone into a home, but they can keep the home. It needs to be sustainable. We can't make any more backward steps to say, okay, you got a heartbeat? Approved. Can't do that, right? We have to make sure we're saying, listen, you have a house payment that you can afford today and you can afford it tomorrow. So our home ownership rates are low, despite unemployment rates being low. Why? Well, because prices are increasing faster than wages. You know, some of the phenomenon that's going on with that is because prices, and matter of fact, just generally everything that we're working with, inflation is increasing faster than wages. What we're seeing is more people go in and do self-employment work. We see the rise of the gig workers. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. LinkedIn predicts that by 2021, more than 42% of Americans will have other employment besides W-2 employment. So what that means is that, you know what? We've got people who are out driving for Uber. They're selling on Amazon. They're selling face care products on Facebook. They're doing a lot of different things to generate more income to make ends meet, or to actually even be able to save up a little bit. But what we also know is that realtors, you all need to be a little bit more proactive in overcoming some of the objections. When people say, you know what, I'm working, I drive for Uber, some of the things that you need to be able to say is, make sure you're claiming your income on your taxes. Giving a little bit of submission on what people need to do to be able to use that W-2 income. Some other things you guys can do is like follow CMG or follow Freddie Mac on FreddieMac.com and take a look at what our industry updates are saying, because, expect to see changes coming over the years about changes of how we're working with self-employment. Freddie Mac has done a lot of strides so far to make sure that we're trying to help. How do we calculate employment income, and how do we use that towards qualification? So household demographics. Of course, that's something we want to take a look at. So we see that between 2013 to 2017, look at that increase of household formations. Now, I want you guys to be straight on what that means. Household formations means, you know what? Someone got up out of their parents' house and went and started their own home. They went to Target. They got dishes. Okay? That doesn't mean they went to go buy a house. What that means is, again, they're moving out and they're starting their own homes. But again, what we're seeing is 25% of millennials are still sitting on the couch. But do not fret, even though they're on the couch in their parents' house. I have scientific evidence that they get older every year. What we know is our millennial households between 2015 to 2035, again, projected to go up to 49.8 million. That's a lot of millennials. The largest generation that we have seen thus far, bigger than the baby boomers. So our first-time home buyers, again, we're leading the charge, median age range 31 years old. That's right at the top of our millennials. And you know what? Their median income is $88,000. Where are those millennials at? I have some single daughters. But what we do see is down payment sources, 59% are still saving. And you know what? That's an issue because a lot of, again, millennials think they need 20% down. So being able to show them that, hey, listen, there are programs like what CMG is going to talk to you about. We have our 3% down program that is not 20% down. We're able to show them that, listen, they can go into home ownership a lot faster than they thought they could. So again, it's all about busting the myths. So we also have some changes in our demographics. So we talked a lot about our millennials. But let's look at what they look like overall. So we say overall millennials are 28 years old. They're making about $44,000. Now that sounds about right. FICO score, 673. Debt to income ratio, 10%. So what we know is that, you know what, this is probably our average millennial. Maybe they only have a little bit of student loan debt, but we know student loan debt is definitely looming, especially for our older millennials. What is throwing off some of the data that we're seeing for student loans is that a lot of our younger millennials do not have student loan debts or are not done taking out student loans yet, okay? Now, what we also see is that overall the country is running about 48 years old and they've got a 719 FICO score. But when we start to look at some of our minority data, we see things a little bit differently. We're seeing that, you know, the FICO scores are a little bit lower. So what that means is there's some opportunity with credit education. We also see debt to income ratio can be a little bit higher in some of these as well, which means we need to do some more work on educating people on, hey, listen, before you make some of these larger purchases, you might want to look at becoming a homeowner first, because you know what, buying that car, that expensive car first can stop you from getting out of that rental. So the U.S. is going to become more diverse. That purple line there is 2050. By 2050, I hope that my car is flying. I'm so excited. But if not, what we see is that our demographics in the country are going to continue to change. We're going to see some rise in our Hispanic market. We're going to see some rise in our Asian market. The African American market is still maintaining the same, but what we see is that with the different changes in diversity, we see more opportunities for education. Because again, in our Hispanic and our African American market, some of the biggest concerns we have is FICO score. That's where we can do some work. That's where we can make a difference. Because loan officers, let me ask you something. If I have a 670 FICO score, can you get me a loan? Yes. If I have a 720 FICO score, will I get a better loan? Yes. I love that my realtors were even answering that. So again, we know that that makes a difference. So California, let's take a look at our population and age comparison. What we see is that in general, again, California, large share of our millennials coming in. The average age range we're looking at from 25 to 34 in California in general is at 14.7%. But when we drill down to San Diego, what we find out is that our lovely millennials that are in that 25 to 34-year-old age, guess what? They're at an even higher share. Now, the next demographic that we also see is our 45 to 54. We want to pay attention to them too, because that 13.24 is definitely a demographic we want to take a look at. But again, what we see in California in general is that this is a pretty large state that has a lot of young people in it. So again, being able to talk about down payment assistance programs, low down payment programs is something that's very important at the top of mind of our millennials. With our minority share, we see that our yellow line is our Hispanic market. Our Hispanic market is very healthy in California. So we talked about, hey, listen, how can we work with our Hispanic home buyers? Well, some of the things that we know is that, again, low down payment assistance options is something we should discuss. Also in our Hispanic markets, we see a lot of multi-generational housing. So realtors, let me give you a clue. If you're out showing homes and you see that, you know what, you've got maybe a husband and wife that hops out the car to go look at the house, but you also see grandma, you also see an auntie and uncle. You know what? In the age when we're dealing with affordability, we might want to make sure we mention that to our loan officers, because you know what? We might have some additional people who are going to live in the home that can help qualify for the home through income standards. So we want to make sure, again, we're giving our loan officers as much help as we can to help with qualifying with affordability. Let's look at our FHA loan share. Now, again, I want to say this. Listen, I am not against FHA. Not by any means. FHA does have a place in the world. However, what I am against is mortgage insurance for the life of the loan. If it's something that we're working with and we've got equity in our home and we've been making our mortgage payments, if we have the ability to drop our mortgage insurance payment and lower our house payment, that's something we should be able to do. But what we see is that our minorities go into FHA loans in a disproportionate rate. And what's even more startling is a lot of our minorities that go into FHA lending, they could have qualified conventional. So we're able to have a conversation about going into a conventional loan at the inception of the loan. It can, again, help with affordability, help these families be able to qualify for more of a mortgage, and also save them the time and the cost of refinancing in the future. A conventional loan share, when we see this, we're looking at, again, our African American community. We see that they are solid with going into conventional lending. We also see that, again, our Hispanic market, they are taking that opportunity to go in. But when we're looking in San Diego, we see that we can definitely use some help with our African Americans in educating on how a conventional loan is going to work for them. Now, I am going to tie this back to credit qualification, because if we're going to be able to reach out into our communities and say, hey, listen, we can help you become a homeowner, and we want to look at different loan options besides FHA to help with affordability. One of the biggest things that we can do in San Diego, particularly with our African American community, is provide some credit education, some financial literacy education as well. Our unpaid purchase balance. Now, this is basically how much of a loan do I have? Now, this is based off of 2017 data, and I wanted to go back to 2017 because we know that in California, the prices have just continued to become higher and higher. We have appreciation going on. So an average African American in San Diego was somewhere around $418,000. Hispanic, $398,000. Minorities overall, $408,000. Still a pretty hefty mortgage balance. Now, again, some people would argue and say, is that actually affordable? Well, again, it can be depending upon the incomes that are in that area. But if we have families that are not able to qualify at that property value rate, then again, we have to look at some out-of-the-box ways of being able to help people qualify and still provide them with a mortgage payment that's going to be sustainable. So some of that can include getting down payment assistance. Again, it can look at saying, hey, you know what? Can I do a little bit of work on my FICO score and bring down how much my mortgage insurance is going to be, and that would lower my monthly house payment. Our average borrower income, this is something I do want to see go down some. So we look at our minority overall. This, again, qualifying income on a 1003, it could be either a single buyer, it can be a two or dual income household, or however many people are qualifying for that mortgage. We're seeing that income in San Diego overall is hovering over six figures, $100,000 or higher a year. So let me stop and ask a question. Are teachers making $100,000 a year? No, they're not. Our first-year police officers, our firefighters, our road workers, our EMT workers, are these people making $100,000 a year? No, they're not. So some of the work that we have to be able to do is ensure that families that are outside of this $100,000 a year mark, they're still able to qualify for homes. Now, in San Diego, we do have other options of, I'm seeing, a rise in manufactured homes going up in San Diego. We also have our condos, our duplexes, townhomes. So there are other options that we can look at besides just the single family residential. So realtors, lenders, please do your part in communicating what some of these properties would look like in a rent versus own, because we may find out that a lot of our families in San Diego are paying more for rent than they would be able to purchase, but they don't know that. So you all have to be able to communicate that. And that takes us to our renter share occupancy. Well, in California, we have an average of 45% of people who live in California are still renting. And guess what? In San Diego, it's even higher. For over 47% of people who live in San Diego are renting. So that is a lot of opportunity for you. So again, do you use a rent versus own? If you're talking to our millennials, if we're talking to people out in the grocery store about, hey, do you own a home? Take it one step further. Go and do some research, talk to our CMG loan officers and find out, hey, what would be an average mortgage payment in our area? And include that in your conversation when you're talking to people about why they need to make a transition from being a renter to an owner. Our average credit score, now I find this encouraging. In the United States of America, the average credit score is 698. And guess what? You guys are running neck and neck with California. I guess that's because California is such a big state, right? But in San Diego, 700. That's a great FICO score. So you know what? A lot of our loan officers instead would stand up and say, yes, I can do a loan with that. But guess what? Is credit education still needed? Yes, it is. Because you know what's an even better mortgage to get? If you've got a 720 score, I'll just pull that number out of the air. You know what? It would lower your mortgage insurance payment. It would lower your interest rate. So again, for people who are already struggling with affordability, being able to give them a little bit more purchase power could be the difference of a little bit of credit education. Just busting that 700 up a few points to 720 can make all the difference in affordability. So our homeownership rates by minority, again, when we're looking at the United States versus, even California, we see that our homeownership rates remain strong, and our minority communities, they still need a little bit more help to catch up with homeownership. And again, we tie that to being able to have resources for down payment, being able to credit qualify, being able to manage debt to income ratios so that they can fight against the affordability factor. But again, we as an industry have tools that we can use to help assist and educate people so that they'll be able to increase their home ownership rates. So right now, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, they are running a campaign called House Before the Car. And here's the thing. It shouldn't just be an African-American culture. It should be a change that we make culture-wide. Okay? House before the car. Because what's happening today, especially in our millennials, because again, they've got decent credit. They can go into Kia and they can qualify, but they can qualify at a 29.9% interest rate. They just got a Kia Sophia for $800 a month. And now you can't qualify for a house. You got the credit, you got the income, but your Kia Sophia or Sorrento, whatever it is eating all of your income up. So that's not what we want. So you know what? If we did it in reverse, and you know what? That millennial, instead of them, the first thing they go and purchase once they get that first job, they can work with CMG, use some Downpayment Assistance programs. You know what? They can go and qualify for the house first, and that's actually going to give them a stronger credit profile. So now when they walk into Kia, they can walk into Kia and be like, I want a car for no money down. Okay. So that is the difference in being able to say, listen, house before the car. So how many of you own millennials? I know I'm not the only one. I'm not only Gen Xer here. You own a millennial, you go home and you tell them what? House before the car. So let's boil it down, some highlights and changing demographics. In our Asian markets, and let's talk about Asian markets. Our Asian markets are not just Chinese, Japanese. We're talking about our Filipinos. We're talking about Indian. We're talking about our Asian market that is growing here in this country. Again, another vibrant country, a vibrant culture. And some of the things that we see is that they're coming in with higher education levels. They have higher income levels. But you know what? They're also working with a lot of cash when they're coming to buy houses. So some of the things that you all need to do with realtors is, again, help your loan officers out, get ahead of the game, and let them know, listen, if you're dealing with cash, talk to one of my loan officers. They can tell you how you can use this in a transaction. Language is one of the biggest barriers, again, when we're talking about working with our Asian Americans. But again, hey, you know what? If you're not fluent in that language, make sure you're fluent in the money. Make sure you're fluent in the way that they need help and be able to have those loan products and be able to address some of the challenges that they're having. Our Hispanic American buyers, strong enthusiasm for home ownership. Definitely working with multi-generational buyers. So realtors, here's some tricks that you can use. When you are out showing houses and you got husband and wife to hop out the car and then Tita come. Grandma come. Everybody come. Okay. Multi-generational housing, very popular. And you know what? When you're having challenges with affordability, guess what? Can Tita hop on the loan? because Tita probably has some good credit too. But we don't take advantage of that. And a lot of times our minority home buyers, they're assuming they can only be husband and wife or maybe two people on the loan, and they don't realize that they can have additional people to help them out with income. We also have programs that work with non-occupying co-borrowers, by the way, to help them qualify with income too. So again, if you're hitting a challenge, talk to your loan officers, see what you can do. They also like low down payment assistance options. So the average Hispanic Americans like to put down is 3.3%, which lets us know it's a little bit FHA, it's a little bit home possible, okay, at 3%. My program's 3%. I'm just saying it's 3%. One of the great things with African-American home buyers is they have a tendency to be younger. So our young millennials, we want to start talking to them again about home ownership. Because with African-Americans, some of the buzzwords are generational wealth. You say generational wealth, they're going to stop whatever they do and say, tell me how, tell me more. Okay. So make sure when you're talking to millennials, and we're especially working in the African-American market, we're getting ahead of some of the challenges, because even though they seem to be younger when they're coming into the home buying market, they're still coming in with debt to income ratios. So remember, house before the car, okay? And they're also coming in with just general credit challenges that we can address with a little bit of education. Our senior citizens, we don't want to forget about them, because our senior citizens are doing something very cool. They're doing something called aging in place. Why? Because they are living longer. They are healthier. They are driving. They're still doing everything they want to do. And guess what? You cannot have their house back. They are not going to the senior assisted living. Okay. But that's also putting a depression on our housing supply as well. But some of the things that we're seeing with our senior citizens coming into 65, they're getting ready to retire. They're looking for ways to save money. So again, if we're looking at maybe even trying to do something with multi-generational housing with our senior citizens, if we're looking at even refinancing, if they're looking at relocating, one of the biggest reasons they're making purchases right now is they want to own their own home, but they want to own it closer to the grandchildren, right? My grandkids are going to have to chase me out the country. So, but one of the things, again, working with our senior citizens, do not forget that, especially in minority cultures, we still have a lot of senior citizens that are even first-time home buyers. So don't think that first-time home buyer products do not apply. Ask, ask, ask. And again, our millennials. Well, of course, they comprise the biggest share of our first-time home buyers at 34%. Millennials, give yourself a hand. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So here's some things, interesting facts about millennials you want to know besides what we have on the screen. First of all, millennial women are buying homes faster than millennial men. Yes, yes. They said you don't have to put a ring on it, but you do have to put a mortgage on it. Yes. Millennials are also buying homes together without being married. There's also, we're seeing some changes where millennials are banding together to buy homes. So especially in areas and markets where you know what affordability is really a challenge, again, helping millennials think outside the box on how they can accomplish home ownership is definitely the key. Remember, everyone in sales, we all heard the WIFM rule, right? What's in it for me? Millennials are the same way. What's in it for millennials? So don't forget to talk to them. They do believe that home ownership is a good investment. It is about investment. And they also need to understand that, hey, listen, you know what? If I own this home now, I can keep it as a rental property. I can make money off of it. It can be a cash earner for me in the future. For millennials right now, a lot of the future is uncertain because of the job market. So where I'm at today may not be where I'm going to be at 5 years from now. I might have to get up and relocate depending on where I am. But just because you relocate doesn't mean that you can't keep the home that you bought today as an investment property. So don't forget to think outside the box. And if you, again, do not think that millennial market is relevant to you, let's take a look at 2030. We're seeing that 7.2 new millennial homeowners. That is your business, right? Over the next 10 years, it is the millennials that are coming in and buying houses. But that green part are household formations. That's not people who own a home. The blue are the people who are millennials that own a home. I would like to see those lines balance out a little bit more. And a lot of that depends on us in this room today. How are we going to get ahead of the game and letting our millennials know that home ownership is actually a good investment and there are tools and services here to help them. Home ownership opportunities right now, the whole U.S. population, there's almost 1 million mortgage-ready people in the country. That's right, we're surrounded. And if we look at millennials, 40% of millennials are mortgage ready. So again, with the real estate market, there is plenty of opportunity out there. So what you all have to do is be able to bust through the barriers, bust through the myths, and motivate them to get ready and have the tools and sources that they need. Because guess what? Even the people who are not mortgage ready, there are some curable reasons. A thin file means that I might actually have a decent FICO score. I just don't have enough credit. I've got 1 or 2 trade lines. You know, my daddy co-signed for me from IKEA. I've been making my payment every month. Okay, but you need your own credit too. Okay, so thin files. Again, something that credit education can solve. The next biggest challenge we have is just having 1 or 2 late payments in the last 12 months. It's innocent. It can happen. And now again, you know what? Something that affects a lot of people in the United States, no matter how old you are, how much income you have, is actually the lack of information on how FICO and credit scoring actually works. There's a lot of information out there that is inaccurate. So if you all can provide this information, and I'm not asking you to put on hats and become credit counselors, but what I would like for you to do is have a tool and resource that you can recommend someone where they can teach themselves. And I'm going to give that to you all today. So our mortgage ready millennial population, especially when we're looking at our minorities, the good news is for most people who are mortgage ready, they can also afford to buy. Isn't that awesome? So again, why are people still renting? Why are people still renting? Realtors, when's the last time you guys did a rent versus own? So again, being able to show people that, listen, this is how much you're paying for rent. This is how much house it would get. Let's go back to old school techniques. It's going to work on millennials, trust me, because again, they want to know what's in it for them. So we talked about student loans. Here's the thing that we see. Our student loans are highest in our oldest millennials. Our youngest millennials, the student loan debt is not so much. But again, some of them are still in school, so we may see these numbers continue to change. But even with student loans, we're making a lot of changes in guidelines to try to help out with our student loan debt and being able to still qualify, but we're still looking at debt to income ratios. So what can we do to help our millennials better prepare themselves on not taking on too much debt before they buy that house? So what that means for you, it means that despite the purchase market being strong, we still have some work to do. We have to prepare for changing demographics, and we need some tools that you guys can use, and I'm going to show you guys that today. One of the things we want to talk about, we talked about our first-time home buyers. We know how relevant they are to your business. We also know their refinancing is something that you guys can take advantage of for people who are already in homes, but maybe need to move out or maybe need to move down. We know there's been quite a bit of equity that's been generated in homes over the last few years. Well, how do they mobilize that? Sometimes it can just be switching from an FHA loan into a conventional loan. If they could take some money out and buy the next house, use this house as an investment property, there are some things that we can talk about, especially with our minority home buyers, because a lot of times they don't think that far in. Low down payment assistance options, I call this our no place like home ruby red slippers. You know, we do have our Home Possible mortgage, that's a 3% down option. We also work with a lot of the state agencies, not just here in Arizona, but all over the country for down payment assistance programs. I really like the program that CMG is going to talk to you about today. It's phenomenal. And again, having some kind of tool and resource to be able to help people supplement down payment and coupling that with a low down payment mortgage option is going to help people get into a home a lot faster than they suspect. People say, well, listen, what's the difference between FHA and conventional? So we already talked about, if we have some people who are better credit qualified, it can actually help them qualify for more mortgage than FHA. We also talked about the fact that, I can get rid of my mortgage insurance at some point in my life. But we also know that it's just not as an expensive loan. We're not looking at upfront mortgage insurance premiums. And you know what that means for realtors? It means that you're not over there haggling for closing costs. Another thing, we talked a little bit about down payment assistance tools. And one of the things I said, hey, listen, make sure you guys as realtors, you're looking for housing counselors in your area. But here's another cool tool. Our down payment assistance tool, if you went and just Google Freddie Mac, down payment assistance tool, it'll take you right to this. You can go into this link, you can pop in an area code, and it will bring up all the down payment assistance programs in your area. Yeah, that's really nice. And again, even if you're working with people who are coming in from out of state or you're having a referral out of state, is something you can use from all over the country. So how do you grow your business? I've given you a lot of information. We want to look and say, what can we do with this today? First of all, Freddie Mac does have a real estate resource center. If you go to FreddieMac.com, you're going to see a lot of information there. If you're someone that likes to take webinars, if you're someone that likes to sit and read information, if you want to look at more data statistics, there's a lot of support there for realtors for you all to be able to use. One of my favorite things is the customizable marketing flyer templates. Yes. The reason why I like these is because guess what? They're available in different languages. We have Spanish is available for you online, so you can go download these flyers, have your information in there, and you know what? It's topics that's going to be relevant for the different demographics and first-time home buyers that we've been talking about today. We also have the My Home website. This is a consumer-facing website. It is safe. There are no pop-ups from other realtors, but you know what? A lot of realtors have given me some great feedback on this website because you know what? Again, when you're sitting down and you're talking to someone and you're trying to bust some myths and they're like, well, you know, on NerdWallet said, it's like, okay, no, let me give you the real information. So the My Home website will help you all again with talking points and information that you can send first-time home buyers or really anyone who's interested in buying a home for them to view and use that information that's relevant. Now, this is my absolute favorite program. I love it more than sliced bread. This is Credit Smart. We have talked quite a bit today about credit challenges, right? We've talked about debt-to-income issues, right? So Freddie Mac has a free online credit education tool for people out there that want more information on how to fix their own credit. It is free. Okay. Now, I love this, and I would tell you, even as realtors, as professionals, I encourage you all to go to this program. If you go FreddieMac.com, you can put in Credit Smart, or you can even just Google Credit Smart Freddie Mac. It'll take you right to this platform. It is a 12-module online program. It is a self-paced tutorial. It is not a home buyer education. It is a credit education product, and that is exactly what we need. It is also available in Spanish. So again, here's another tip I want to give you. If you all are educators out there, if there's some people out there that are interested in doing some community outreach, realtors, you can actually become certified Credit Smart trainers, and you can teach these classes in your community. Now, I would tell you again, I'm not asking for you all to put on the hat and become credit repair agencies, no. But what I'm asking for you all to do is have a tool, have a resource that you can send to someone so they can help themselves, okay? So Credit Smart, please utilize this program. So what I'm asking you all today is, listen, I've given you guys some information on how your market's going to change. I've given you all some information on what your home buyers are going to look like from today on to the next decade. And again, we know that we have a challenge. We know our loan officers are doing mortgage gymnastics trying to get your first-time home buyers qualified. But we also know that we can band together and we can make a difference with our first-time home buyers, our low to moderate income markets. We know that we can help do things a little bit better and help them come to the table a little bit more qualified. What I'm asking you all to do is to actually just use some of the tools that I gave you today. You guys think you can do that? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for tolerating me today.
Amazing information, incredible resources that you have for us. And as one of these young, eager millennials coming up in the world, can I have a hug real quick? Just supporting us and not hating on us. It's a nice change of pace, folks. Cassandra, it's been amazing. Cassandra, out of curiosity, what can realtors do to help more people shorten the time between I think I want to buy a home and being home ready?
Right. So, I like to refer to them as our home hopefuls. I hope I can buy a home sometime in my lifetime. So here's the thing that I found out, and some of the research we've done with Freddie Mac has shown this too. People, when they understand that they're qualified for a home, they actually pull the trigger a lot faster. So one of the things that we can do is when we say, hey, listen, if you're even thinking about buying a home, if not today, even if it's 10 years from now, let's start helping you get prepared. Let's give you some credit information. Let's see how you might be able to start gathering up some down payment, things like that now that can actually help people pull the trigger a lot faster than they first planned.
Spark of inspiration. I know I'm going to be calling my CMG loan officer very quickly after this meeting this afternoon.
I think I know one.
Point him out for me. I appreciate that. And Cassandra, what are some successful methods you've seen some other realtors use to attract business from more first-time home buyers?
Yeah, so do I have any listing agents out there? Make some noise. Yes, okay. So listen, one of the biggest strategies that I've seen that have been very successful is for our listing agents to simply add a rider in front of their properties that are within the low to moderate income purchase range that says down payment assistance available. It is amazing how many sign calls that would generate because people do not know that there's down payment assistance programs out there. So again, people will call just to get the information. Now, as far as people who may not be listing agents, if you're buyer's agents, if you do a little bit of both, the other thing I would encourage you to do is, again, reach out to your housing nonprofits that are in your area. Get to know what they're doing. If they're teaching classes to first-time home buyers, get involved. Volunteer to start teaching them. Bring some donuts to them. Do something. Make some friends. But again, there's a lot of work that's being done with our first-time home buyers, and they need realtors that are interested and also motivated to work with that demographic.
As a man who loves donuts, I'm eager to get into those meetings anytime soon. So, folks, let's give it up for Cassandra Skadanov one more time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, ma'am. I appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, so you got some great information, some great resources. Now we want to teach you about a new program on the market. And to do so, I am eager and excited to introduce a colleague and friend of mine, Mr. Doug Nesbitt. Doug is going to take you on an in-depth tour of HomeFundIt, the game-changing program that is helping first-time homebuyers find a way into that dream home even quicker. So, folks, let's give a big, warm round of applause for Mr. Doug Nesbitt.
All righty, thanks everybody. Doug Nesbitt here, and it's great to be here. And I'm the cleanup hitter tonight. So, a little bit about CMG, just to kind of get started. I'll do a little bit of commercial here for CMG. Company's been around, for those of you who are not totally familiar with us, we've been around for 26 years now, founded by Chris George in his garage in Pleasanton, California, 6 employees. I originally joined in year 10. We've grown steadily since those days. We're now one of the nation's largest privately held mortgage banking companies. Top 15 lender, we do about $1.5 billion in mortgages monthly, and it seems like every month it gets bigger and bigger. 600 or so loan officers, coast to coast, 120 branches. Hard to keep track as we continue to grow. And as Taylor was saying, a bunch of innovative products to kind of go along the way, and that's part of what comes with being privately held, right? You get to kind of do what's interesting. And for us, things like the all-in-one loan, I call it the most powerful loan on the planet. Get familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, it'll blow your mind. And number 2, HomeFundIt, which is what we're here to talk about today. HomeFundIt. I would leave you with 2 bullet points for HomeFundIt. One is this one. It solves the number 1 problem that your first-time homebuyers have, and that is down payment, cash down payment. Second, very close second, is credit, as Cassandra's been saying. And it stands to reason that if you can solve that number 1 problem that first-time homebuyers, and again, third of the market, right? If you can solve that problem, it means they're going to be ready to buy a house faster. And what does that mean for you? More money, right? 2019 and 2020 could be better yet. So we're going to show you how. Who hasn't had this situation? They meet somebody, not ready to buy a house, right? Credit issues, income issues, blah, blah, blah. You get their phone number, you get their email and information. You circle back with them in 3 to 6 months, and what do you find out? They bought a house. So how do you lock those folks in? Really tough to do. Well, you have good news today, because HomeFundIt is a structural tool that lets you park and lock in folks. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Who would like to have some way to lock those folks in for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and really hang on to them, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? So first-time homebuyers, as Cassandra was saying, this is a huge, very important part of the market and getting more important all the time. Housing prices are a little softer now, right? Mortgage rates are down to levels that we haven't seen in quite a long time now, right? So first-time homebuyers are getting a second bite of the apple, right? So this is your chance to lock those folks up and make them your pool of prospective customers. 82% of millennials want to buy a house. And as Cassandra was saying, they're in a position to be able to do that mortgage ready, many, many, many of them. 1/3 of them are making up the purchase market today. They're a very important segment. So you have to look at your own business plan and say, what am I doing to proactively go after those folks? And that's HomeFundIt. They're struggling, as we've been saying, sky-high home prices, rising rents, and new real estate cycle, new problem, massive student debt. We didn't see that in the last big real estate cycle. It's a huge boat anchor today on their ability to save for a down payment. And that's why 70% of people who are renting will tell you that that's the number one problem they have. Can't come up with enough money, or I don't think I'll ever be able to afford enough money for a down payment. And who couldn't use a larger down payment? So today, the old way of gathering a down payment really is a solo effort in most cases. 25% of cases we see bank of mom and dad coming in for a little bit of money. But under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines, and including FHA too, any relative can give. But we almost never see that. And why is that? Well, they don't know about it. No one told them. No one asked them. And on top of that, there's some friction. Gift letters, financial statements, and the embarrassment factor of asking all those people, and it's kind of hard to do, right? How do you fix that? We went to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and said, hey, let's work on ways to take the friction out of that process and make it really easy for all those folks to give, right? To not just parents, but to get out there and be able to let all those other folks, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, cousins, sisters, basically anybody who cares about you and loves you, to be able to help. And we did just that. We built HomeFundIt, which is an online platform that allows anyone to give. We actually got an exemption to be able to go further under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines. CMG's HomeFundIt platform can gather funds online on a down payment, no paper checks. So we've not only expanded how people can give online with a debit or credit card, but we can actually increase it to other people who can give, people who are not relatives, right? Friends, and that includes wedding guests, right? So that's a big one. Very easy for people to help. They give online via debit or credit. There's no offline paperwork, and you can give up to $5,000 per donor, no upper limit on the size of the total campaign here. People are just asking their family and friends to be able to come by, help out with that down payment. People say, does that really happen? Is that even going to happen? Well, think back. When you graduated from high school or from college, or both, right? You let all those same people know that you were graduating, didn't you? And what did you send those people? An announcement. Very simple. You sent them a little card that said, I'm graduating from high school, graduating from college. And what happened after that? Money. Money shows up. It's fantastic, right? You didn't ask for money. You just told them you're graduating. Why'd they send you money? Because they know you, they love you, it's a milestone in your life. And if buying your first house isn't a milestone, I don't know what is. You shouldn't be in this business, right? It's a huge milestone in your life, buying your first home. Think about when you bought your first home, right? Big milestone. Everybody remembers everything about it. So that's the way it works. And those funds that come in on the platform are pre-approved. If you try to do this on any other kind of platform like Kickstarter or GoFundMe or anything like that, you'd have a big problem with those funds. They'd say, where'd you get them? At closing. These funds proceed directly to closing. They're in escrow until closing, and away you go, right? And they can be given on a pure gift or contingent basis. So if your bowling buddy isn't quite sure you're going to do the deal, you can give on a contingent basis and then get the money back if you decide not to buy the house, right? And there's no commissions or hidden costs involved with using the platform. The platform is free to use, free to offer to your clients. Sets up very, very easily. Your client basically just goes through a few simple setup screens, and poof, they have a campaign page that looks just like this. It's a web page on the internet. They can invite all their family and friends to come to this URL and visit the campaign, find out what's important to them about buying that house, right? So basically, they're uploading a picture, naming their campaign, nice little naming. This is Evie's first home, and this is a real campaign out in South Carolina. She writes a little story about what homeownership means to her and how she hopes her family and friends will help. The real estate agent and the loan officer are both featured on the campaign. Up in the upper right-hand corner is Evie's goal and her progress towards goal, and a big blue button where all her family and friends can give. And in the middle on the right is a nifty little thing we call Up It. I'm going to talk about that more in a second, but it's a second way for Evie to raise more money for her down payment. And in the lower right, you see all of the contributions coming in as the campaign progresses. Up It was launched in December of 2018, so it's been out almost a year now. It's a second way to add funds to a campaign simply by shopping. Everybody knows how to do that online now. So all she's doing is she's inviting her family and friends to drop by her campaign page, and instead of shopping directly at whatever store they're shopping at online, they just go through the link on her campaign page, which is right here, and that automatically links that shopping trip to her campaign. And there's a rebate of, on average, 7.5% among almost 600 top online retailers that go as a pledge back to the down payment of her campaign. Basically, they're coming by the campaign, clicking, finding Walmart, Walmart has a 4% rebate. Some are way, way higher. Some are a little lower. They average 7.5%. Do the shopping, and automatically that pledge shows up in the donation column so that when she finally buys her house at the end, that pledge is right there. It's a great way to get your family and friends to drop by the page, right? Because you know they're shopping, they know they're shopping. All you're doing is saying, hey, just do your shopping from my page and I get a 7.5% rebate on average into my down payment. And oh, by the way, while you're there, you might want to make a donation to my campaign. All the top stores that you know and love are in there. Everybody else asks, is Amazon in there? They're not, because they have their own program for charity. You'll find just about everybody in here. We see a lot of bookings on vacation sites like VRBO because those are big dollars a lot of times, and those big dollars end up translating into a nice little pop for the down payment. Okay, campaigner controls. Each campaigner has full control over their campaign. They can change things up at any point in time, update their story, link to social media, link to email, send emails, track donations, the works. When they set up their campaign page, we don't leave them hanging out there in the wind. Basically, they've got onboarding videos that they get every single week that show them how to set up their campaign, share it, use the Up It feature, things like that. So you don't have to do the training yourself. Your client gets trained on it. CMG gets into the act a little bit with a little bit of incentive. We call it the CMG Lender Grant. And as campaign contributions come in, we're incentivizing those, matching 2 to 1 with an instant $100 to start. And we match 2 to 1 all the way up to $1,500 or 1%, whichever is less. So it's very easy. All you got to do is raise $700 and you get to your $1,500 that way. And that's for first-time buyers who complete lender-paid homebuyer education prior to signing a purchase contract. Those are the only 2 requirements for that. So it incentivizes the behavior that we want, right? Which is for them to get out and talk about this to their family and friends, bring the money in, increase the down payment. Again, who couldn't use a larger down payment? That helps their buying power. It advances the timing of the purchase. They're ready sooner, so that incentivizes that process. We pay that towards non-recurring closing costs because we're an interested party just like you guys. On top of that, Freddie Mac has their fantastic BorrowSmart program, which is just launching, and that is based on your AMI. So if your income is at or below 50%, you can get up to $2,500 towards either your down payment or your closing costs. And as your income increases 80% and 100%, it's $1,500 and $1,000 respectively. And that is also requiring Homebuyer Ed. It's a separate course, $99, well worth it if you're getting the $1,000 or $2,500. And again, that's towards down payment or closing costs. Great news here is there's a lot of dollars available built right into the program for first-time homebuyers, much needed. So how does this all fit together? Your client sets up a campaign page, then what, right? Well, they can use their Up It feature immediately. As soon as the campaign page goes live, they can tell their family and friends to start coming by, check out the campaign page, shop using Up It, and they can do that for as long as they want. So I always have clever real estate agents who come to me and say, how early can they set one of these things up, right? I mean, could they do it when they're 16? Yes. And I have many real estate agents who have their kids, their friends' kids, and others who are already set up on campaign pages. And what's that doing? That's locking that person in to that real estate agent for however long it is until they buy their house. Now, that's a long time if you're starting at age 16, but you've got a lot of people who are graduating from college, starting their first job, right? And those people, you can lock those people in for a year, year and a half, and that becomes your farm, right? Those are future clients. They're not going to go anywhere else because they've got a campaign page with your picture on it and your loan officer, and they're getting emails from you guys every week, as I'll show you here in just a little bit. So Up It is a fantastic stickiness tool to be able to lock that client into you. Well worth it to set up anybody who you think is a potential first-time home buyer on one of these campaigns as soon as you can. Now, when they get closer to buying a house, of course, they're going to want to meet with their loan officer, get pre-qualified, and from the time they're pre-qualified, then the blue button in the upper right-hand corner for regular contributions, not the Up It shopping thing, but the regular contributions from family and friends, that goes live, and they can do that for 12 months. Now, people say, what if it goes longer than 12 months? Trust me, it's going to go like in 4 to 8 weeks, most of these campaigns are done, right? We rarely see campaigns that last longer than 2 or 3 months, except for wedding-related campaigns, and they're planning way out because they got a wedding in March or something. And we know those are going to be long ones. Virtually everybody else is done in 4 to 8 weeks. That's how fast these campaigns go. And that's because people get organized, The family and friends rally around them. They've got a loan officer and a real estate agent on the front end of the transaction, not at the back end when they're ready to buy, but at the front end, everybody's pushing and they're done. They're buying a house. In fact, one of the biggest problems we have is getting them through Homebuyer Education prior to signing a purchase contract, right? Because they get out there and they start house hunting. Next thing you know, they're calling us on a Friday night saying, I think I'm going to make an offer this weekend, and I don't know if I did my Homebuyer Education. Do I have to do that before? And the answer is, yeah, if you're getting the $1,500, you do have to do that before you sign a purchase contract. This goes very fast, and that's the interesting thing that we've seen about HomeFundIt over hundreds of campaigns now, is that once these people get in action, if they're serious and they're sharing, it's happening, right? They're buying a house soon. So that's what you have to work with. How do these gaps get closed? I mean, we see all different size home purchases, but everybody can use a bigger down payment, right? 5, 10, 15,000. I could use more money, right? I've saved a certain amount. I need a certain amount. It's always different. So what we see typically is a couple close relatives coming in for some online contributions that are larger. Usually that's still the bank of mom and dad, right? 2 for $2,000, 2 for $3,000, 2 for $5,000. Just depends on the scale of the transaction. And then we see the other relatives. That's the grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, brothers, cousins, sisters, right? And it only takes 3, 4, 5, 6 of those at $250 to $500. And then you see the close friends jumping in, right? That's the fraternity, sorority, college friends, the neighbors, the people they've been renting with forever, right? The wedding guests, 5 to 10 of those. Weddings, it's like 50 of those, right? Coming in for $50 to $100. That's it. They're done. That's why these campaigns go so fast. They share with a few people, done. And they've closed that $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 gap just like that. On top of that, they're getting the CMG match, and on top of that, they're getting extra funds if they've been doing some shopping for a while. We've seen that over and over and over. We just completed over 600 campaigns now. 3,000 is the average number, but that's really a blend of dead campaigns and what I call sweet spot campaigns, which are 5,000 to 15,000. Median donations, 500. 135 million in real estate purchased. Average loan size very similar to the US average loan size in the low 200s. And lest you think we can't do this in California, we certainly do. 705 under conforming high balance, which applies as well. Any Fannie Freddie program. Top 10 campaigns, I always get asked, what are they? There's some whoppers. There's no upper limit on the size of the campaign, and we seem to get some very big ones. That's people just sharing with their network. I mean, they're not crowdfunding among a bunch of millions of strangers and stuff like you see on TV and stuff. This is the network for people, and we see very large campaigns. What makes a solid campaign is a good photo, right? If you put up a photo that's nice, that people can resonate with, they recognize, oh, what a cute family, that's what you get. And a sincere story. People telling people, hey, this is really important to me. I would sure hope you would help with my down payment, right? You guys are a great family, hoping everybody will help a little bit. Come to the housewarming party. And sharing, inviting people to come by, shop using UpIt, share with family and friends. If you don't share, guess what? Nobody knows about the campaign. This is a look at a typical campaign. Kelly and Robbie Baybutt, they're out in South Carolina. They were shooting for $14,000, raised about $11,000, just recently married. They found a house before they were done fundraising, and they were done. That was it. Bought a house. Great story, great picture. We see a lot of family-related stuff, pictures related to family. This one on the right is one of the top campaigns. I think it's our 4th largest one. You can see lots of donations on the right-hand column there. We see people doing dream houses, the house they'd love to live in, or maybe the one they're actually hoping to go after. People starting their life together and wedding kind of themes, just recently married type themes. Those are great. By the way, you can link these pages to the Wedding Wire and the Knot and the other wedding-related registries. You're just taking the link and directing people back here. And trust me, people would much rather make a donation to your down payment than figure out which color toaster to buy you, right? So this is a much more meaningful gift for people in that category. Young couples starting their lives together, that's kind of the thing here. Young couples, we see a lot of those, and very, very exciting to see folks kind of starting out their life together with a brand new home. Solo campaigns, we see a lot of solo home buyers doing it. And this one in the middle is from Austin, one of our favorites. We've got a nice testimonial video from her campaign. Success patterns, you know, you have campaigns that just set up and then they, like, what happened, right? They're gone. Either incomplete pages, not shared. That brings down our average to 3,000. Then you have campaigns that I would call you missed the boat, right? Minimal campaign, you ask your friends or your mom and dad for a $700 check, you get your $1,500 match and you go on your way. Missed the big idea, right? It's there, you just didn't share it. And what happens when you share? It's like a step change. It jumps from 5 to 15,000. You share with, like I was showing you earlier, just a few people gets you into the sweet spot, right? And that's all it takes. And then, of course, you have the campaigns where people share with a wider group, and they end up being those record-setting kind of campaigns. So again, all of the different success patterns, but the key dynamic here is tell somebody about your campaign, right? Tell your family and friends. And we see this over and over. If you play the testimonial videos, you see it in almost every campaign that we've done the video for. They say, I knew my mom and dad would give, but I was blown away that all my family and friends gave, right? So we hear that every time. So it's really funny. So how do you give this to your clients? Well, we make it easy. We have a portal that you can set up in about 5 minutes, right? And this is a place that's a starting point for your clients. It's got your branding. Like I said, it sets up really quickly. It's marketing ready, and it's free, right? So this is very easy to do, and I'll show you how to set up in just a second. It's got your company brand. It's got your personal branding built into it. It's got a big green button where your clients can start a HomeFundIt campaign. It's got a place that shows where you're matching. So I'm going to show you how to do a match in a second. Super important because, again, it's incentivizing the behavior that you want, which is this fundraising behavior, which gives them more purchasing power, which advances the timing of the sale, which makes you more money. Super important to match, and this shows that you're matching, helps people realize it's important. About me statement that you can write. It's got a contact us form, so it goes right back into your inbox. They don't have to figure out what your email address was. And it's got some great testimonial videos that people can play right here. It's got media coverage links so that people can see that this has been validated in the press. When you get campaigns that are going, you'll start to see active and successful campaigns show up on your page. You're running campaigns so that all your other first-time homebuyer clients that are stopping by can see those too and go, wow, what a great real estate agent this is, or helping first-time homebuyers. And when you're doing a match, those matching contributions come in right below every donation that comes in. And they're a pledge, right? So these aren't actually cash out of pocket every time somebody's giving money, right? This only happens at the end, right? So it's a pledge towards the end. But the neat thing here is that you're getting free advertising value anytime somebody donates and you match. You're exposing your brand to that entire donor network. So another good reason to do the match. Now, here's the very best part, and I'm going to go deep on this stuff because this is what builds your business. Not just letting people you know already, but this is allowing you to reach out and find more first-time home buyers to make your business bigger in 2019 and 2020. So we've got these testimonial videos that I tell you about. I'm not going to play them because you can go in and play them. They're 2 to 3 minutes. They're fantastic, every single one of them. You want to share them all with people. And they're ready to share. They're built right into the back end of your portal. So when you log in, you just go to the marketing section and you'll see it looks just like this. And these testimonial videos are not just links to videos on YouTube or Vimeo, but they're a fully branded player, all built up with contact information. Your branding is built right onto it. It's got social media links that make this video player ready to share as is. So no matter how many times it gets forwarded, your branding's riding along with it. You can't say that about a Vimeo or a YouTube unless you have it professionally created. Very high tech. Contact form built right onto it too, so no matter where this thing ends up, they're coming back to you, right? So it's a fantastic tool. I'm going to show you how to use it here in just a second. This portal gives you some huge advantages, right? It's going to help you accelerate the process of getting your buyers into houses. It's going to preempt competition because you're pulling that deal away from them, making it yours sooner, right? And it's locking in people. So people who aren't ready to buy, you're just locking them in, right? They're not going to somebody else. As soon as you meet them, they are yours if they set up a campaign page. And you've got a message that's different, right? Your competitors are out there doing listing, right? That's about it. That's about all people are doing. You've got a message that says, solution, first-time homebuyer solution, third of the market, come here, right? Nobody else is doing that. So differentiating yourself, super important from a marketing. I've been doing marketing for 30 years. It's the #1 thing. Differentiate yourself. Get started. 5 minutes. Here you go, pencils. Realtor.homefundit.com. If you don't have one of these, you can have one as soon as you get back to the office. It takes about 5 minutes. Put in your name, email, pick a password, realtor.homefundit.com, And this is the main screen. You're just putting in a little bit of information about your company, your broker. You're putting in a name for your site, Sue Sells Homes, Bob's Arizona Realty, whatever you want. That becomes part of your URL, right? You're uploading your logo, uploading your picture, write a little about me statement. You can rip off the one that's on your business site, add a little bit about how you're helping first-time home buyers, because that's who's coming by the page, right? And if you need to do a disclaimer, there's a spot for that, totally optional. Choose your CMG loan officer if you have one. If you don't, we'll find you one. And the last thing you got to worry about is the match. Again, highly recommended. Again, you can do a one-to-one match. People always say, Doug, how much are the matches? Well, it can be up to whatever you want. 500, 1,000, 1,500 is what I typically see, sometimes 2,000, depending on the size of the deals. And people are oftentimes giving to deals at the end as a credit anyway. So don't do that. Do the match. Not only are you going to give to the deal that way, but you're incentivizing, again, the behavior that you want, which is the sharing, the getting in of the money, all of those types of things, right? You're helping them build that buying power. You get a confirmation email. You can come back anytime you want in the settings area, fine-tune things, change your story, change your picture. I've seen some people upload some great background pictures. Make it yours, right? This is your page. It's got your URL that you share with people. Again, sign up at realtor.homefundit.com. And again, take you about 5 minutes. Once you get going, you get your page up, you'll get weekly statements that tell you how things are going on your page, how many people have come by. Your clients, when they set up their campaign, will also get weekly emails. Again, here's the stickiness part. They're getting weekly emails with your picture on it, and that's what holds them to you. The campaign, the up at shopping, the fundraising, and these weekly emails, basically you are the shepherd for them on their journey towards home ownership. How do you find more? Besides the advertising on Facebook, there's a really great way to find more, and we've got a lot of agents who have approached me and said, hey, I think I would like to take this idea to some companies, because I've been trying to get into companies with affinity relationships before, and I'm promising service, and I'm promising a discount, and I walk in there and I want to be your real estate agent, and I walk out, and then a week later another agent comes in and says, I want to be your real estate agent, promising service and promising a discount. And it's just a revolving door of agents who want the business from a different company, right? We all know this. Very little to differentiate ourselves and structurally hold them to us. Well, the neat thing about HomeFundIt is we've built a structural tool that allows you to give this gift to companies. And what is this gift that we're giving companies? It is turning renters into homeowners. And why does a company care about that? Homeowners are great employees, right? They don't go anywhere. They got a house, they got kids in schools, they've got relationships. That's why we're in this business. You've got this magical tool that turns renters into homeowners. Companies love that. And you've got a tool called the Affinity Portal that lets you make that happen, bring it to life. So it's very important for companies because we're at full employment. They're having a hard time holding on to employees right now. And there's nobody offering housing benefits. Housing's a front page issue. And yet we deal with healthcare, we deal with retirement, but we don't deal with housing very well at companies. Employees have to figure that part out on their own. So this is a great way for you to take a benefit to a company that they can offer as a housing benefit, right? They've got this tool now that allows them to turn renters into homeowners, and we've built a special portal called the Affinity Portal. And this is a company-branded portal that you can offer to companies in your area. If you know the HR director, work with them and have them set one of these up. This is Graceland University out in southern Iowa. It's actually where Caitlyn Jenner, formerly Bruce Jenner, went to college. And they have this program. And anytime they hire a new employee for the university, this is part of their HR package. It's actually linked from their HR pages. And it's got a big green button, again, where people can start their HomeFundIt campaign. And the HR person walks them through all their benefits, and including this housing benefit that we have, where you can build a bigger down payment faster. Now you'll notice this doesn't have a real estate agent brand. This doesn't have a CMG brand on it or anything. This is theirs. This is Graceland University's, right? And all of the leads that come into this, all those campaigns that come in and get set up, go to one real estate agent and one loan officer. Structural lock-in, right? Not a promise of service, not a big discount implied. This is just a tool that that university is offering their employees to use, and their employees go there and say, yeah, I could use a bigger down payment. And then the real estate agent and the loan officer take care of that person. Sets up real quick. The company can actually match 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 up to however much they want into those campaigns. And that allows that university to say, we're actually helping you with your down payment through this program, and they can give $500 or $1,000 to the down payment and call it a benefit. It's their housing benefit. It doesn't cost them anything unless they're giving a little bit to those down payments. But it's a structural tool that the employees can use. And we're rolling out a whole bunch of places. Actually, GoDaddy has this available on their platform, and they're in the area. So it's pretty exciting. It's linked to the HR website. And again, all leads go to one group that's taking care of them. Bottom line here is that with HomeFundIt, you're pulling forward purchases and you're locking in because you're taking the friction out of this down payment process. You've taken the friction out of giving. You've expanded the pool of people who can give. You're giving this powerhouse tool to your clients and potential clients to allow them to build that down payment faster and they get done sooner. You know, today, when you meet clients or they come to you saying, I think I want to buy a house, right? I think I'm ready, finally. Been waiting forever. It's at the end of this journey, you know, of life to where I'm getting to where I finally can get to my house, right? Finally get into a house. That's the typical starting point. But with HomeFundIt, you can start that journey really early. You can start it as early as soon as they're out of college, right? Or even earlier in some cases. As they get that first job, you can lock those folks in on the platform to you. Future pool of buyers, future farm of buyers, right? And through UpIt and through the fundraising process, they're locked into you. And in almost every case we've seen, they're ready to go early. Earlier than anybody thought possible. In fact, way earlier than they thought possible. And on top of that, you've got this ability to go out and dig deep in some of these companies looking for people they're hiring as, you know, first-time home buyer potential. So it's a great way to bring stuff forward, lock people in. And it all starts with getting people on these campaign pages. Because if you don't get them on a campaign page, they have nothing to share. And again, to get those campaign pages there, you want to get your portal set up at realtor.homefundit.com. So your homework assignment for tonight is to set up a Realtor Portal. Real easy. It's kind of fun. Mess around with it, upload your picture, upload your logo, realtor.homefundit.com, and have everybody you meet that's a potential home buyer set one of these up. That locks them into you. And share, right? Nothing happens until you let the world know and do a little marketing. So get out there, get a little aggressive with this thing, post. If you can, boost. Check out the Facebook Marketing Kit. Call us. We're here to help you with it. Email your clients. Not everybody's on Facebook. Send a link to your page to all of your clients. Do a blast email and put it in your footer of your signature. Do the basics. Those things will start to happen. So what we've shared with you today is a phenomenal program to help turn renters into homeowners faster, pulling forward those purchases, getting you paid sooner, getting folks into their homes sooner, increasing their buying power. You've got a fantastic platform now with your HomeFundIt Real Estate Agent Portal, right, to be able to make those things happen, to push clients to that so they can start their campaigns, right? And then you've got some great marketing tools with the videos, and you've got great tools with the Affinity Portal to be able to reach into companies to find even more first-time home buyers. And that's the HomeFundIt potential that you have here today. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. And if you need anything else, we're here to help you along the way with questions. So thanks very much for your attention, and hope to see you out there.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for Mr. Doug Nesbitt.
Thank you.
Good man.
Thank you.
First time I met this guy, we spent 4 hours locked in a car in Orlando because of a bomb scare. But you bond quite a bit through a time like that. And you get to learn about some amazing, innovative products that this guy is coming up with, like HomeFundIt. And there's nothing like this product out on the market. It's absolutely unbelievable. And with that, a couple of questions for you, sir. First off, can a home buyer raise the entire down payment using HomeFundIt for a guy like me who might not want to spend a cent of my own?
Do you have any friends?
A couple. You ends there.
Yes, the answer is yes. We've done it, and there's really no restrictions on that. So, and we've seen some very large campaigns, and people come in with all different size down payments. Some very small, and obviously some people come in with more, and they just need a little. So it varies all over the place, but yeah, you can.
Awesome. And what if all of your first-time homebuyer clients have major issues like credit, down payment? What can HomeFundIt do to help them today?
Well, it's kind of what we've been talking about, which is that lock-in feature, right? You're going to have lots of people who we all know who have credit issues, income issues. They're just not ready, trying to figure out where they want to live in the area. It might take them a while. Maybe there's family issues that they have to figure out first, travel issues. All of those things, it makes it hard to hang on to people. and somewhat unproductive in many cases. But with HomeFundIt, you can lock those people in, they can do their shopping thing with Up-It, they stay connected to you, they're getting the weekly emails. So no matter what that time horizon is, how long the workout is for all those situations, you can hang on to those people that way. And that's a much better ROI on your effort than if you didn't have that structure.
Make friends early, hang on to them for quite a while. I like that, Doug. I do.
Treat your friends well.
Guys, let's give it up for Doug Nesbitt one more time. I'm sure a couple of you guys are eager to ask a few questions as well. So I'm going to invite our friend Cassandra Skadanov from Freddie Mac back up on stage. Let's get a big round of applause for Cassandra. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions for our speakers?
Yes, Doug, who holds the donations and how are they accounted for?
So who holds the donations and how are they accounted for? We hold all of the contributions, the regular contributions from family and friends at Merchants Bank of Indiana in an escrow account, and that's available whenever they're ready to buy their house.
Hi, call it a question of clarification. So a lot of us think of a first-time home buyer as someone who's never owned a home in their whole life, right? And a lot of the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac programs will allow you to qualify for the 3% down option if you haven't owned real estate in the last 3 years, so to speak, right? So would someone that's in that category still qualify for the HomeFundIt program?
So with the HomeFundIt program, one of the things that we look at is, first of all, the question is, what qualifies as a first-time home buyer? Well, a first-time home buyer is someone who has not owned a property or been on deed on a property in 3 years or more. But now, as far as the HomeFundIt program, I believe you guys can use that for people who are not exactly first-time home buyers, right?
Yeah, it's the 3-year rule also, and it has to just be one person on the transaction. So the other person could have come out of a house.
So that would be like a blended couple,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like I owned a house, but you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what's happening. Girls are buying houses faster than guys now.
I want to thank you guys. This is an amazing idea. I just had a question about how the realtors and loan officers were going to be presented on the site. Is it matched by the realtors' acquaintances or who they know, or is it just automatic?
Yeah, so when you're setting up, as a real estate agent, as you're setting up a portal, it asks you which loan officer that you want to connect to the portal. So you have the choice of which LO from CMG it is. And you just pick the one that it is. So it's just the two of you, and that's it. Yeah, super easy setup process. You guys will think I took too long explaining it.
The links to the videos are they textable?
Yes, yeah. Okay. Like underneath each video, there's a bunch of ways to share. There's the various social media icons, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, and then there's a URL to the video. And that's the video's URL for your video, not anybody else's, and it's got your branding on it. So you can take that link and just paste it places. You could put it on your site and turn it into a button, on your site. You could do lots of things with that URL, and that's a great way to do it. Yeah. Also on that video, I didn't talk about it, there's a button. It says, come back to my site. So basically, they just click the button and they'll come back to your Realtor Portal. So pretty neat.
Because most of millennials will text me and never call me.
Exactly. So. Yeah. People paste links like crazy.
Okay, so for the corporations that you mentioned, partnerships, even though the realtor and loan officer are not on the benefits portion of the corporation's portal, yet you mentioned it still goes back to the realtor and loan officer. Is there some paperwork that indicates that, or?
There's no set paperwork, but when the portal gets set up by yours truly, I basically link it to that loan officer and that real estate agent. So the leads coming in, you get notified when someone's setting up a campaign on that portal. Okay. You'll know at that point. And you're really managing the relationship with the HR person or the CEO or whoever it is that you sold into. You're really on point. We're here to support you with the page and stuff like that. But to take full advantage of something like that, you're going in on a quarterly basis. Maybe you're running first-time homebuyer presentation, lunch and learns, helping educate the employees because you don't know when they're going to be ready to buy a house. You want to be visible, and I think that's just working with the HR people, being at their HR fairs, their benefits fairs. We've got a bunch of companies that are offering this that we're getting real busy in early November because they have HR benefits fairs for all their employees. Well, there's HomeFundIt tables at these now, which is cool. So it's a great way to get the word out. So you're you're really owning that relationship anyway and being the real caretaker. And unlike a traditional affinity relationship, you've got a structural tool that you're presenting to them to make that happen.
Another thing that can be successful too is working with local chambers, because we have a lot of our small businesses that are looking for additional benefits they can offer employees. And maybe they're not a Fortune 500 company, but they still want to be able to offer something to their employees. So look at your chambers, your minority chambers, like your Hispanic chambers. Unions, exactly.
Great.
So think outside the box.
Churches, I mean, there's just any kind of org that you can think of is a great candidate for this, because they need benefits to keep the members happy, like you said. Great.
I have a question. Why did you guys give me a chair that's half my height?
Guys, let's give it up for Cassandra and Doug one more time. Thank you guys both so much. The information